are still fighting for equal rights and the chance to shape their own future. Gender equality is a human right, but gender inequality is a social phenomenon where men and women are not treated equally. Our society is still facing a persistent gap in access to opportunities and decision-making power for women. Even when women do an equal job to men, they are still discriminated against in the workplace. The gender wage gap is not only oppressive and complex, but it is also persistent. Gender wage gap is the term that refers to the difference in earnings between men and women. In many societies, there's a division of jobs, the belief that men are just better equipped for some jobs, and these jobs tend to be the better paying jobs. This discrimination results in lower income for women. Since the second half of the 20th century, women's labor force participation has risen exponentially. Despite women working longer hours and pursuing higher forms of education, significant wage gaps between men and women still persist. For every dollar earned by men, women on average earn 82 cents. Many experts have calculated this gap, and they all point to the conclusion that women consistently earn less than men, especially for women of color. This calculation was made by the U.S. Census Bureau and is a ratio of annual earnings for women working full-time to male counterparts. To close the wage gap, women need updated, comprehensive, equal pay legislation like the Pay and Fairness Act that will combat discriminatory practices and strengthen existing protections. Companies should be cautious of gender-biased recruitment processes and seek to mitigate bias wherever possible. Society must continue to confront cultural biases that continue to harm women by devaluing their work and confining them to specific gender roles. There are many different professional obstacles to women, including gender stereotypes, sexism, the lack of female leadership, and accessibility and affordability to childcare. Society's expectations are not the same on men and women regarding their roles in raising children and carrying out household chores. Women on average spend 2 to 10 times on unpaid care work than men. The motherhood penalty is a social phenomenon where motherhood triggers assumptions that a woman is less competent, less committed, and less available to her career. Many employers will offer mothers a lower salary than other women, and men who are fathers do not suffer from this and are often rewarded. The Center for American Progress shows research and evidence that men actually receive a fatherhood bonus where their pay actually increases. An article by Thias Compoint shows that a meta-analysis of over 100 studies from 1970 to 2012 with over 22,000 participants proved a preference for men in careers. Male performance is too often preferred to female performance, especially with society's tendency to associate leadership qualities with more masculine traits. A female leader with stereotypical female traits is considered too soft, whereas a female with stereotypical male traits is considered to be too bossy or aggressive. Solutions to overcome professional obstacles will be to have women mentor men. This can benefit both parties, and they can learn about different working and leadership styles. Making work-life balance a priority also benefits both men and women by companies advertising the options of part-time or flexible schedules. There were rises in applications, and to reduce the risk of unfair bias in the hiring process, employers should be encouraged to use skill-based assessments. Other solutions include to ensure all girls have access to education and that society gives women platforms to be empowered and to achieve economic success. Sexism is still sadly an obstacle for gender equality in the workplace. 1 in 3 women have experienced physical or sexual assault in some way. In male-dominated industries, sexism is particularly more strong. Sexism in male-dominated industries make women feel like outsiders and discourage them to apply or even remain in these environments. Women in these environments will have to face sexism, whether benevolent or ordinary. According to theorists Glick and Fisk, a form of systematic oppression is benevolent sexism. This is where women are stereotyped as delicate and sensitive and are viewed as weak individuals who must be protected. Examples of ordinary sexism can include when women are expected to do things like make tea or coffee, endure sexual innuendos, and dealing with comments based on their appearance or clothes. Women have been conditioned at school considerably more than men that a good job is automatically rewarded. This is called the good girl syndrome. And according to Envision Wellness, the only way to overcome this is to slowly rewire your brain by learning and practicing new skills and how to go against sexist males. For women to progress in their careers, it is not enough to be good at a job. Others need to know what you are capable of. As a society, we must protect women from violence. Violence can undermine women's careers, ability to work, access to financial resources, and the employment climate. Women can function more freely in a society and the business world when not faced with the threat of violence. In conclusion, our society is still facing persistent gaps in access to opportunities and decision-making power for women. Proof of gender equality advancements include reducing poverty and hunger and enhancing the wealth, well-being, health, and education of entire families and communities.